Now, ever since the very end of Return of the Jedi, a lot of fans back in the 1980s were led to believe that Palpatine was dead and dead for good and to never return in the Star Wars franchise. And here we are 30-some years later with the return of Darth Sidious himself by director J.J. Abrams. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, many would argue that Palpatine's return and how he never really died and survived the fall of the second Death Star really does in fact destroy Anakin Skywalker's sacrifice, his redemption arc in Return of the Jedi, and what he really fought for to save his own son, only for Palpatine to live. A lot of fans do in fact have a problem with Palpatine being alive in the flesh, how he never really died on board of the second Death Star, where on the other hand, there are a handful of Star Wars fans that are okay with J.J. Abrams going with that route, depending on how the explanation is going to be executed on the big screen. Now, with that being said, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the concept art descriptions, this is where things begin to get very exciting for Episode 9. Now, specifically, shot descriptions of a sequence where it's explained that both Rey and Kylo Ren are said to be in a defensive stance against a now rejuvenated Palpatine, where he is far stronger than ever before by transferring the powers and energy from both Rey and Kylo Ren, plus how he is drawing energy from the Beyond, which is said to be the most powerful force nexus there is in the entire galaxy within the Star Wars universe. It's explained that Palpatine eventually uses Force Lightning against both Rey and Kylo Ren, where both Rey and Kylo use Luke and Leia's lightsabers to block the attack. Both lightsabers are said to be blue in design, where Rey is said to lose her grip, where she is said to drop her saber where she is shocked and pushed into a stone wall behind her, where this is where Kylo Ren confronts Sidious with Leia's lightsaber by holding on to his mother's legacy. It's explained that one of the sequences involves a moment in which Sidious is able to force grab Leia's lightsaber from Kylo Ren's hand, where it's said to be ignited in mid-air still, while Palpatine levitates it in front of him. This is where Sidious examines the lightsaber that once belonged to Leia and now Ben, where Sidious states that this is a Jedi's weapon, however a weapon that does not belong to Ben Solo. This is where Palpatine throws the saber across the throne room, where Palpatine is said to now fight a defenseless Kylo Ren with only the use of the Force. Palpatine is actually said the Force pushed Kylo Ren over the edge of a cliff, now nowhere to be found, where Rey is said to suddenly jump into the middle of the fight with two blue sabers in her hands, one of which being Leia's and Luke's in each hand, as she fights Sidious while he uses Force Lightning upon her. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, the thing about Leia's lightsaber being a thing in The Rise of Skywalker, not only do I believe that this is a great way to honor the legacy of Leia as a character, and in order to really honor the actress of Carrie Fisher, I think that this is also a very smart thing by J.J. Abrams, that when both Ben and Rey fight Sidious, is that Kylo Ren is going to be using his mother's lightsaber. So essentially, in this particular scene, he's really fighting with his mother in spirit. He's using a weapon that once belonged to her, that was handed down by Luke Skywalker, her own brother. And that's what I like about this scene. It's basically like Ben Solo clinging to his mother's legacy while fighting a very dark and sinister figure that both Luke and Leia knew very well about during the events of the original trilogy. Now, in this particular scene, the thing that really gets me concerned about the character of Ben Solo and what's going to happen to him all brings us to the conversation of, well, is he going to die or is he going to live, right? So one of the scenes is actually said to involve a moment where Palpatine literally force grabs Leia's lightsaber from Kylo's hand, where he is actually examining it in mid-air. So he's got the lightsaber ignited in mid-air, and this is actually, a thing that was already done in Snoke's throne room, technically, where Kylo Ren cuts Snoke into two pieces. You can see that the saber is still ignited in mid-air as it falls into Rey's hand. Except here, it's stationary. It's just standing in front of Palpatine as Sidious examines the blade in the hilt design, where he says that this is a Jedi weapon, giving us yet another parallel to Return of the Jedi, where he examines Luke's green saber, and how he says, yes, a Jedi weapon, much like your father's. And that's where he collects it for his own in that particular scene, right? So this is very, I guess you could say, much of a mirror to that of the Return of the Jedi throne room scene, except in a different sense in that this is Leia's lightsaber, and that now we have two Force wielders actually going up against Palpatine. The thing about Kylo, though, is that it's said said that eventually he is thrown over the edge of a cliff. Does that mean he is going to die? I'm not quite sure. I don't think so, because if you guys read the Snoke comic book on the world of Dagobah, there is a moment in which both Snoke and Kylo Ren train on the world of Dagobah, and Kylo Ren does indeed fall down a bottomless pit where he's able to stop himself just before he hits the ground. So he's able to literally stop himself, basically stopping himself in mid-air just before making impact. And I have no doubt in my mind that he did this during this particular moment in The Rise of Skywalker. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.